met someone who is just so chill and has just the calmest energy and thought to yourself, how do I find that kind of zen? Well, you're in for a special treat today, folks. I'm your host, Liz Throb, and today on The Gifted Ones, we are going to explore how to do just that with my special guest, Julie Boyse. Julie, or her spiritual name, Jaya, is a registered yoga teacher in the Shivanda lineage from India. She was trained in Quebec at the Shivanda Yoga Camp and in India through Siya, did I say that right? Okay, International Teaching, a classical integrated style yoga. She currently teaches chair yoga at senior care facilities across Niagara and teaches Hatha yoga to adults, along with Ayurveda, Yoga, Nidra, mantra, meditation, learn to chant, and meditate classes. She holds day retreats and brings those interested in exploring India with her when she travels. How awesome is that? If that is not enough, she is a community connections coordinator for Spiritual Niagara and community builder at Holistic Health Connections in Oxford County and recognized therapeutic touch practitioner. Welcome to The Gifted Ones, Julie.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you're here because so many people don't really get or understand just how beneficial meditation and or yoga or the combination are for us, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to talk to you specifically. And we know each other through Spiritual Niagara, right?
Yeah.
And I've always known you to be such a chill, great, amazing energy. If you folks can't feel it through the camera, trust me, this gal is so cool. She's so cool. So as I read your bio, there is an obvious thread that I see in your soul's journey, and that is one of helping others to heal and learn to live a more peaceful life through yoga and meditation. Would I be right in that summation?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. Now, I'm just going to start in with the first question, if that's okay. Please explain to our viewers what got you into yoga and meditation. Like, where did it all begin? Because obviously you weren't born into this, right?
Yeah. So in 2002, I think I took my first yoga class.
Okay.
And at the same time, I was learning to be a therapeutic touch practitioner. So I learned meditation through that process.
Okay.
We did guided meditations, and even the practice of doing a treatment was meditative, where you're concentrating on one thing and only that thing.
Can you explain to folks what therapeutic touch is?
Yeah, of course. It's a holistic treatment that we do, moving through the energy field of the person. So we're we assess the body first to find if there's any energy that's kind of not, might be blocked or just kind of differences to the body. And then we just help to move the body with our intention, or help to move the energy with our intention.
Right.
By moving about like a half an inch or so sometimes, or further out, depending on the energy of the person.
So amazing. So amazing. And just, like, I know from just being around you, like, we did, what the camera didn't video was we did a little grounding meditation prior to this. It definitely calms the nerves and just we're able to just breathe normally, right?
Yeah.
So going back to the question, because I kind of interrupted you
that's
rudely.
Okay.
So you started this in 2002.
And two? Yeah.
So, this is relatively, I mean, that's not that long. It's a long time, but it's not that long. Like, you haven't been doing this your whole life.
No.
What brought that on?
So, in 2009, one of my closest friends set up her own hot yoga studio. So I was like totally into just helping her. So I was like, I want to come to your classes to be able to help support you and be there for you. So I would go twice a week. And a couple years later, she closed the studio, and then I was looking for somewhere else. So I found Little Mango Tree in Woodstock. Lolita Devi is the teacher there, and she did things different. It wasn't just exercise. It wasn't just connecting with the body. It was about, we did chanting, we did the movement, very mindful movements. It wasn't about moving fast through the postures or sweating or any of that kind of thing. And then we did our breathing exercises, so different breathing exercises, and then meditation. So it was like fully encompassed this whole new way of yoga that for me.
Absolutely.
And while I thought it was a little bit weird at first, I would go in and I'd close my eyes and I'd be like, oh, is anybody watching? Or this is so weird. And then when we were chanting, same thing. I was like, I don't know about this. But I felt so awesome after. So I had to keep going back.
Yeah.
And then the more I learned was through her classes, the more I learned about yoga and why we do all these things. And the reason why we go through the movements and the breathing and the meditation and kind of social conduct or personal conduct, all these things combined together, you can bring into your own life. It just kind of ends up seeping in. So
yeah, it kind of takes it takes a whole like new chapter in your life. It must have. I always yoga is a one-man sport, obviously, and meditation, like you can't get anyone to help you do it. It's something you have to be committed to. And I think, well, I know for myself personally, it is the taking the time for me problem, right? And I think that's what a lot of people kind of avoid doing things when there's so many other things that could be, I have to get this, and we have that monkey mind, right?
Self-care, right?
Self-care is huge.
The other part to that is that in 2000, I gave up yoga for a little bit because my work got in the way. It had taken over my life, and that's what I was doing. I was driving 2 hours back and forth to work every day. I was working 12-hour days, and I was working weekends, and then there was no time for yoga. And after a period of time, I had what some call the nervous breakdown, and I was off work for about 7 months. And yoga is what helped me get myself back on track.
That's
with
beautiful.
Connection, with relaxation, with coming back into slowing my mind so I wasn't so much in my head all the time, and really helping to give me the pause before I'm reacting to things.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm aware that this is happening in my body now. Because before it would be like, my mind and my body were always competing. Like I'd be sitting there working and I really have to go to the bathroom, but I really need to finish this thing. So I'm just going to finish it. And it just was on and on and on from there, right? I'd wake up in the morning, or the alarm would go off and my mind would say, get out of bed, you got so much to do. And my body would say, please don't, I need more rest. Like there was always a constant struggle between the body and the mind. So I think at that time they just said, forget it, we're not working for you anymore. So it took me a long time with going to a psychologist, but also just getting back into, I could barely walk from room to room in my house. And I wasn't talking out loud. It took so much effort and energy for me to breathe and talk at the same time. And that really showed me what living in the moment was about. Because if I was focusing on one thing, there was nothing else I could focus on. So it was really learning how to come back into my body and really recognize what's going on in it.
Wow, that is epic. Because I can guarantee you there are thousands of people that are going to see this who are going to say, that sounds a lot like me. And maybe they haven't gotten to that breaking point yet.
Right.
And this would be absolutely beneficial to just help you get beyond yourself and really tune in and avoid the crash, so to speak, right?
Well, and that's what I recognized when I wasn't doing yoga, that I was missing something. And then that's what I feel like, because I was away from that's maybe what pushed me over the edge, because I wasn't doing any kind of self-care at all. Yeah. Work was my life. And then afterwards, then I was, I need this. This self-care, like you mentioned earlier, is so important, and you need to figure out what that is for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just trying this out, if you haven't done that at home yet, try this out. Yoga or meditation, or chant, or any of those things that you offer, so let's get into my next question, which is, could you explain to our viewers who may be thinking this is easy for her, she's been doing it since 2002, of course she can do this. I mean, for me, it would be like, can somebody pass me my leg, please? Like, physically, I think yoga, and I'm like, there's just no way. I'm not going to be able to, keep up with these people. And there's that embarrassment, kind of, they're all doing these major poses, and you're like, barely lifting your leg off the ground, right?
Yeah.
So for anybody who's like me out there, what would you say to that? What would you...
Well, as a common thing, people think they need to be flexible to take a yoga class. That's just a common idea. In fact, and that's what I thought when I first started too. But because my friend was teaching, then I felt more comfortable going, and then realized it's not that at all. You go to yoga to become flexible in the body and in the mind. So it's a double advantage or a double benefit of it, right? So because then you become, more flexible in the way you think about things, and you're not so closed. And so for that piece, just becoming more flexible, and that's what you learn in the class.
Because you do get tight, right? Like as we get older, unfortunately, your body starts to tighten up, right? So if you're young and you're watching this, you're thinking, I'm good, I'm flexible, I can handle this. But as we get older, things start to seize a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely have to take you up and get out to your studio, right? Like I totally have to do that.
But it's more really about a body-mind connection, learning to listen to your own body and moving within that. So just because a teacher is doing one thing does not mean that you copy that. You go into the movement by her telling you how it should feel maybe in this posture, but listening to your own body. What can I do before you push yourself into it?
Yes.
Just knowing what you can do.
Now, prior to this being taped, we were talking about the different things, and you had mentioned, which I never actually thought of before, which was there are multiple types of yoga.
Oh, yeah.
And you may have tried a class and went, that's not for me, but there's multiple types. Can you want to just go into that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of different types of yoga, but lots of different teachers as well. So even if the same teacher is taught by the same lineage or the same teacher, they run completely different classes based on their own experience, the other trainings that they've had in the classes. If you can't, if you've tried yoga and you really don't like it, I really encourage you to try another class. Because maybe it was a vinyasa class and you're busy all the time. That's not the right class for you. Or if you're more of a high anger, frustrated type of person, a hot yoga class probably isn't for you. Right. So finding a place that works for you and just keep trying.
So funny, right? Like, it makes perfect sense when you're saying it like that, but you never think of it. I did not know that there was multiple types of yoga. But there's so many. There's restorative. You just want to lay back and relax in the class. There's hatha, where it's a gentle yoga. Vinyasa, which is more of a flow, where you're moving the whole class into different sequences on a repetitive basis. I've just started exploring some of the different yogas. In fact, when I thought that I was teaching the same thing as what everyone else was, and now I'm going to some classes going, wow, it's different. It's different. And everyone teaches different. Yeah.
So it's connecting with the...
Of course, that makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. So that would lead me into my next question, which is, what are the positive and negative side effects of meditation and yoga? Either daily or weekly. What are the positives and negatives? Yeah.
So for me, the positive's easy. There's so much, right? So it's body, flexibility, strength, stability, your organs, it's massaging out your organs. It's helping your circulation. It's helping your breathing. On a mental level, it's helping you to keep focused. It's helping you to stay calm and reduce stress. There's so many benefits to yoga. For me, meditation, for example, helps bring time into my day. Somehow, I don't know how, but if I don't meditate in a day, my whole day is kind of scatterbrained. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't keep focused, and my day goes by and I don't know what I did. Yeah. And when I meditate, everything just seems to go so smooth and calm and collected, and it's...
Well, this, for me, I don't do the going within self. I do guided meditations. I've discovered that that's just my easiest way. I'm lazy, so it gets me into the mode right away, and there are so many wonderful guided meditations online that you can get for free. But for you, you're going into the practice of complete right? You're going into the Zen, right? You're not. Please explain.
Yeah, just like yoga, there's so many different ways to meditate too, right? So yeah, you can sit quietly and listen to a guided meditation, or you can do it through mindfulness where you're, eating an apple, let's say, or your breakfast or whatever, and really noticing, what does it look like? This is what it looks like. Okay. And then I bring it up and I smell it, and using all your senses, and then taking a bite and noticing, or maybe even coming close to your mouth and noticing the saliva starting in the mouth, and that's digestion starting. And then you take a bite and then you hear. So you're engaging all your senses through the activity. Yeah. You can choose any activity through the day.
We're just such a fast culture now, right? Like we've gone to the extreme of everything has to happen yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? So even just saying that, I'm going to try that out today. Paying attention in the traveling that I've done in my life, I noticed that in Europe they do take their time to eat, and they're very, it's a very mindful process. But over here, it's just I need to fuel my body, get it in as quickly because
while you're checking your messages.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to do that today.
Yeah, sure. Meditation's about the slowing down the mind and then concentrating on one thing so that you can move into the experience of meditation. So no one can teach you how to meditate. They can teach you how to concentrate. And like I said, there's many ways, with that being one of them, mindful eating, but you can also do it through breath. You can close your eyes and watch your breath, or listen or feel your breath moving in and out. Count your breaths. And then when your mind wanders off to something that's in the past or the future, which typically it does, then you just go, if you can notice. Yeah. So that's a practice in itself, noticing your mind's wandered, and then bring it back to now. What am I doing again? I'm breathing. Okay, gentle. Because you talked about the monkey mind before. Yeah. And what our mind does is it jumps from thought to thought to thought to thought to thought.
100%. Yeah.
Right? So then when we try and catch a monkey, okay, if you think about catching a monkey, you're holding on to it, and it's like having nothing to do with that, right? It does not want to be there. Yeah. But if you just kindly become friends with it, and then slowly you can become to train it. You can start training it to come to you, and you can hold it and caress. It's just like your mind.
I love that analogy.
So if you start to force your mind into, I've got to sit here, I've got to clear my mind, I can't think of anything, and all you're doing is thinking of everything because you've just started. It's like, give yourself a break. You're just starting. It's a practice. I mean, I can't sit there and not concentrate on anything. I just notice my mind's wandered. I gently say, okay, come on back. But it took me even lots of time to practice noticing it's even wandered. I'd set my alarm for 2 minutes, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I wasn't concentrating at all. I was thinking about what I was going to buy her today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's just on and on practice.
Well, it is, it's definitely great tips that you're giving us. Like even for me, I'm certainly going to try a lot of the different techniques that you're talking about, and slowing down. So when we live like that, it is easy to become lost in one's thoughts.
Yeah.
And what better way to take care of self than to be mindful and in the moment? Mm-hmm. That is definitely, I love meditation for that. And I kind of had to be honest with you when you asked, do you meditate, Liz? And I was like, I try. I probably do it once a week, or, and it depends on how busy my work schedule is. I find that when the busier I am, I'll make that excuse that there's no time. You referred to that earlier about the no time clause. Everybody says, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
We choose our time. We choose what we're going to do with it. And I can guarantee anybody watching this has spent, well, you're already watching this video online. I shouldn't, I should be careful not to dissuade you from watching our videos, but we can find time to do stuff like watching videos or chatting with somebody, social media, but we can't find time to take care of our soul and our mind and our body.
Right.
And we're talking like how long? We're talking, I do 5-10 minutes. That's it.
Yeah,
and
that's
it just is epic what it does for me.
Right? Yeah, that's all you need.
Really.
And then the other part, like you just brought up a good point about maybe what the negative side of yoga is it can be, or meditation, it can be frustrating because your mind will do anything it can to keep you from meditating. Yeah. Like there's mornings where I go to sit and I I have my phone as my timer.
Yeah.
And if there's a message on there, if I don't keep, okay, I'm going to pick up my phone and I'm just going to my timer. The next thing you know, I'm on Facebook or I'm returning texts or I'm doing something else.
It's so true.
And then all of a sudden I don't have time to meditate. So it's the same thing. So
we're all guilty of that. I don't think anybody watching this is not guilty of that.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is. So what you just have to keep telling yourself, get back on track.
That's it.
Just don't get upset with yourself. Just get back on track. One of the techniques I use for time, especially when I'm running behind or whatever, I always ask the angels to slow down time for me. And I told my husband to try this, and he's like, yeah, okay. You know, he's not there with me. he's not in that mindset. And I've proven it to him a number of times. We've been running late for something. I'm like, okay, angels, I really need you to slow the time down. And I think that's, you know, a combination of literal angels supporting us, right? But it's also talking to ourselves and going, okay, we just have to just not get focused on what's happening and get focused on the task at hand, which is getting to so-and-so's or doing whatever it is we need to get done.
Yeah.
I think it's like a 2-4 that way, right? Amazing.
But you've just practiced yoga there. So being aware that you need more time.
Yes.
Because so many of us run in this autopilot and we don't even know where we're going or what we're doing. Have you ever driven somewhere and you don't even know how you got there?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So, and even this morning, you know, I was a little bit nervous and I'm thinking, oh, what would happen? All the things that could happen or all the things I've done before, things like that. And I'm like, I'm driving. And then, oh, well, what if this happens? I'm driving. And this is how I move through my life.
Yeah.
When I notice my mind's gone off, I come back to whatever it is that I'm doing. Yeah.
Amazing. So I just want to talk about your traveling. You've traveled the world to learn from the best teachers. Please explain to our viewers what those experiences were like for you. And you bring others along on retreats to like India. Yeah. How epic is that?
Yeah. So I've traveled my whole life and now it's just a bonus that yoga is included. But what happened was, and how that kind of came together was, at my yoga studio in Woodstock, I met Swami Mahesh. He's a traveling yogi who teaches yoga across the world. That's what he does. He's from India, and he stays at home maybe 2 weeks out of the year.
Oh, jeez.
And other than that, he's traveling and teaching yoga. And so the first time I met him, he was like a ray of light at the front of the class. Like he was just like, his smile lit up the room, and it was amazing. Like I had never met anybody like that before, where that was so just full of light and love. And
that's how I see you. That's exactly how I see you.
Thank you.
So funny that you're describing somebody else like that, but I remember the first time I saw you, that's exactly how I saw you.
Wow, thank you.
Full of light and energy, and clearly what you're doing is creating this environment for yourself, for your soul, right? You're just so bright. You're one of the shiny ones.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, well, he was doing this program on who am I? So that really got me thinking about, well, who really am I? But I really find when I'm traveling, I am my truest self, because you're most vulnerable, you're closest. There's nothing real life, you know, like in your own idea of what life is here. When you're traveling, you're kind of like, oh, look at all these new things.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, look at that beautiful tree. And then you come home and go, oh, we have those same trees. I never even noticed.
Yeah.
But when I found out with him, he's like, yoga, love it. Traveling, oh my gosh, he's put the both together. So I started traveling with him. My first trip with him was to Iceland. It was my first yoga retreat. And that was the first time I had ever eaten vegetarian for 3 days. Like I was a huge meat lover, and I would have the shakes thinking, I don't know if I can go without meat for 3 days. Like, this is crazy. And I did it. And I felt so satisfied, like more satisfied than I've ever felt when I've eaten, and clear. And then doing yoga all day. And when I say doing yoga all day, that means waking up, we do a yoga class, and then we eat mindfully. And then we do a lecture and learn about the philosophy of yoga. And then we'll have a yoga nidra, where is a deep relaxation, laying down. And then we do meditation and pranayama, and then we do chanting in the evening. So it's not like, oh my gosh, you practice yoga for 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I do practice yoga 6 hours a day, but it's through different paths of yoga, bhakti yoga, different types of yoga.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
it sounds like the most relaxing vacation anybody could take, for sure. Right?
Yeah, anytime you have an opportunity to do a yoga retreat, for sure, is beneficial because you're totally immersed in it. So you really get a feeling of what the benefits are.
Oh, for sure.
And then I followed him to Costa Rica and to India. And that's where I learned a lot about. I learned about Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is a sister science to yoga. So it's the science of life. So it's kind of like their medical system, holistic integrated medical system. So they work together with the Western, or like the Western type medicine, but
Okay.
it's together. So Ayurveda doesn't work on emergency, acute disasters like arm broken, things like
Right,
that.
okay.
But they look more on what type of person you are and what kind of food's good for you and how are the seasons going to affect you and all of these things.
Wow.
So that's where I learned mostly about that. And the coolest part about it is you get treatments. So we get full body massages with 2 therapists. So 1 on each side, giving you a simultaneous oil massage. And then a Shirodara treatment, which goes across the forehead of warm oil for 45 minutes. They drizzle this oil across your forehead. You have a steam bath, foot massages before you go to sleep. So it's like a normal sleeping pill, like an Ayurvedic sleeping pill.
Totally.
So that really benefited me. And the first time I had gone to India was more for my own health. It was after through my recovery and really just getting my health back in check.
Yeah.
And it was then I knew that I wanted to share yoga while I was still working, but it wasn't working out kind of that way. I still felt like I needed to be in the corporate world and working. So I had lost my job after 20 years. They had done some restructuring about 6 months after I returned to work.
Thank you, universe.
Yes. Yeah. I walked in and I was like so happy. I had been a big part of the association, I feel like, and knew when the HR person's in there, something's going on. So it was like, okay, how much am I getting?
Yeah.
Because I knew I didn't do anything wrong, but it was just a restructure thing. And it was, definitely thank you, universe.
Yeah.
And so I got to do the traveling. And so I went to India and I said, where should I do my yoga teacher training? Because there's so many and everyone teaches differently and everyone has their own philosophy of an idea of how yoga is. And yoga is like over 5,000 years old and came from India. So I wanted to connect with a teacher training that was from the horse's mouth.
Of course.
Yeah. So then he suggested the Shivananda training, and they have trainings all over the world, but I chose Canada because I wanted to learn how to cook vegetarian with Canadian food.
Yes. Yeah.
And then they had an Indian chef. So I know I still just just eat a lot of Indian tradition type food because that's how, but it's perfect because they already eat that way. They already eat Ayurvedically. They bring in all 6 tastes in every meal. So when you're finished, you're totally satisfied.
Oh, no
so bring
kidding.
it, and they use all the spices and everything. It's amazing. So I had done that. Shivananda is a very strict lineage, and I would say it's for me, it was difficult to get into that and know, like, one of the first postures that you learn is headstand. Oh. So to come back to Canada or come into Niagara and teach headstand to people who don't even know what yoga is just wasn't something that I was comfortable in doing. Yeah. And I had been trained and done some deepening yoga classes and stuff with my yoga teacher. So I was following her tradition, which is the same lineage. So Shivananda Yoga Camp through Swami Vishnu Devananda is the same lineage as what she followed, but through a different master, Satyananda. But they all kind of learn from the same top tradition of Shivananda Yoga. So I learned, Swami Mahesh was teaching his first yoga teacher training, and I was like, I want to go. He's so interesting. I've got the knowing how to teach a class down now. I want to learn more about the philosophy piece. how this all comes together. How can I share that with people? And
Yeah.
so that's where I took the second training through him. Yeah. In India for
Just
6
amazing.
weeks. Yeah.
Very cool. I'm going to definitely try and come with you. It won't be this year because I just got through my daughter's wedding, but next year, quite possibly, the next retreat you do, I'm going to do everything I can because that sounds so amazing to me.
Yeah. We're just finalizing the plans for January 2020.
Oh, okay.
So end of January to middle of February. It'll be a 20+
So
day
if somebody
trip.
wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that? Through
My website. Yeah.
Okay. Which
It's journey2balance.com. So that's journey and then the number 2 balance.com.
Perfect.
I'm on Spiritual Niagara, so you can
Yes.
always visit me on there
Yes.
and connect with me through there. We just set up our new website, so that's so exciting.
Yeah, so cool. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up the show on this note. If you believe you can't do something, you're 100% right. But if you believe you can do something, you're also 100% right. So why not choose the latter? Remember, you're your own best friend, folks. And if we don't take care of us, there is nobody that's going to do it for us. And Julie has given us a lot of food for thought today on just exactly how we can find that Zen in ourselves. Thank you for watching The Gifted Ones. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks for having me.